Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the fascinating tapestry of history. And today, we're embarking on an enlightening journey through time with our video. Women in Ancient History, Ancient Queens. You know, history has often been told through the lens of kings, warriors, and conquerors, mostly men. But what about the women who ruled empires, shaped civilizations, and left indelible marks on the world? These ancient queens weren't just figures in the background. They were trailblazers, strategists, and visionaries who navigated power in eras when society often sidelined them. In this video, we'll explore their lives, their challenges, and their legacies, drawing from historical records, archaeological finds, and expert insights. We'll meet queens from Egypt, Rome, Britain, and beyond, and I'll share their stories with the respect and empathy they deserve. After all, understanding these women helps us appreciate the resilience and ingenuity of humanity as a whole. By the end of this 30-minute exploration, I hope you'll feel inspired by their strength and perhaps see echoes of their influence in our world today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our future dives into history's hidden gems. Let's get started. Our first stop takes us to the sun-baked lands of ancient Egypt, a civilization renowned for its pharaohs, pyramids, and profound reverence for the divine. Here, among the Nile's fertile banks, rose one of the most remarkable rulers in history, Hatshepsut, the queen who became pharaoh. Born around 1508 BCE, Hatshepsut was the daughter of Pharaoh Thutmose III and his principal wife, Ahmose. From a young age, she was immersed in the intricacies of royal life, educated in reading, writing, and the arts of governance. But her path to power was anything but straightforward. When her father died, the throne passed to her half-brother Thutmose II, whom she married to solidify the royal bloodline, a common practice in ancient Egypt to maintain divine lineage. Thutmose II's reign was short, and upon his death around 1479 BCE, the crown went to his infant son, Thutmose III, from a lesser wife. As the young boy's stepmother and aunt, Hatshepsut stepped in as regent. Now, imagine this: a woman in her prime, intelligent and ambitious, overseeing a vast empire while a child sat on the throne. It could have been a temporary role, but Hatshepsut had greater visions. In a bold move that challenged traditions, she declared herself pharaoh around the 7th year of her regency. She didn't just act as a ruler. She embodied the full pharaonic identity, donning the false beard, male kilt, and headdress typically reserved for kings. Why? To legitimize her rule in a society where pharaohs were seen as male, incarnations of gods like Horus. Hatshepsut wasn't defying gender norms. Out of rebellion alone, she was adapting to ensure stability and prosperity for Egypt. Under her rule, which lasted about 22 years, Egypt flourished. She focused on trade rather than conquest, launching ambitious expeditions to the land of Punt, modern-day Somalia or Ethiopia, to bring back exotic goods like myrrh, gold, ebony, and even live animals. These voyages weren't just economic boosts. They were diplomatic triumphs that enriched Egypt's culture and economy. Hatshepsut also commissioned grand building projects, including her magnificent mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, a terraced marvel carved into cliffs that still stands today as a testament to her architectural genius. But let's talk about the empathy here. Hatshepsut ruled during a time when women were expected to be consorts, not commanders. She faced opposition from priests and nobles who clung to patriarchal traditions. Yet, she governed with wisdom, promoting peace and prosperity. Her inscriptions often portrayed her as chosen by the gods, blending her femininity with divine authority, showing us that leadership isn't about fitting a mold, but about forging your own path. Interestingly, after her death around 1458 BCE, her successor, Thutmose III, attempted to erase her from history by defacing her monuments. Was it jealousy? Political maneuvering? Historians debate, but her legacy endured, rediscovered in the 19th century through archaeology. Hatshepsut teaches us that true power leaves echoes that time can't fully silence. Moving forward in time but staying in the Nile Valley, let's turn our attention to another iconic Egyptian queen, Nefertiti, whose name means the beautiful one has come. Living during the 14th century BCE, Nefertiti was the great royal wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, and together they revolutionized Egyptian religion and art. Nefertiti's origins are shrouded in mystery. Some scholars believe she was of noble Egyptian birth, while others suggest foreign roots. What we do know is that she married Akhenaten early in his reign, and they had at least 6 daughters. But Nefertiti wasn't content to be a mere consort. She wielded significant influence, appearing in reliefs and statues with pharaonic symbols, sometimes even smiting enemies, a role usually reserved for kings. The couple's most radical act was establishing a new religion centered on the sun god Aten, abandoning the traditional pantheon. They moved the capital to a new city, Akhetaten, modern Amarna, symbolizing a break from the past. Nefertiti supported this monotheistic shift, and her famous bust, discovered in 1912 and now in Berlin's Neue Museum, captures her timeless beauty and poise. With that elegant neck and enigmatic expression. Now we're staying in Egypt, but fast-forwarding to one of the most legendary queens of all time, Cleopatra VII. Her story is one of brilliance, ambition, and tragedy, a woman whose name still echoes through history. Let's dive in with the same empathy and curiosity, piecing together her life from historical accounts and archaeological clues. Cleopatra VII, born in 69 BCE, was the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic kingdom, a Greek dynasty that ruled Egypt after Alexander the Great's conquests. Unlike her predecessors, Cleopatra embraced Egyptian culture, learning the language, a rare move for a Ptolemaic ruler, and presenting herself as the living embodiment of Isis, the goddess of motherhood and magic. This wasn't just symbolism. It was a strategic choice to win the hearts of her Egyptian subjects while navigating the cutthroat politics of a Hellenistic court. Cleopatra inherited the throne at 18 alongside her younger brother, Ptolemy III, whom she was expected to marry, following Egyptian custom. But sibling rivalry and power struggles erupted, plunging Egypt into civil war. Enter Rome, the superpower of the Mediterranean. Cleopatra saw an opportunity in Julius Caesar, the Roman general visiting Alexandria in 48 BCE. Legend has it she had herself smuggled into his quarters, rolled up in a carpet to plead her case. Whether it was a carpet or a sack, the bold move worked. Caesar backed her claim, and together they defeated Ptolemy III's forces. Her relationship with Caesar wasn't just political, it was personal. They had a son, Caesarion, and Cleopatra visited Rome, strengthening ties. But after Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE, she returned to Egypt, facing a new Roman power struggle. This time, she allied with Mark Antony, one of the triumvirs ruling Rome. Their partnership was both romantic and strategic, producing 3 children and securing Egypt's grain supply for Rome's armies. Cleopatra and Antony's alliance, however, alarmed Rome's other leaders, especially Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus. The tension culminated in the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE, where Octavian's navy defeated their forces. Back in Alexandria, facing capture, Cleopatra chose to end her life in 30 BCE, reportedly by the bite of an asp, a snake tied to Egyptian royalty. Her death marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty, as Egypt became a Roman province. Cleopatra's legacy is complex. She was vilified by Roman writers as a manipulative temptress, yet her intelligence and resilience kept Egypt independent longer than seemed possible. She reminds us that leadership often means making impossible choices in the face of overwhelming odds. Now, let's travel across the ancient world to Britain in the 1st century CE, where another queen defied an empire, Boudica of the Iceni tribe. Her story is one of rebellion and resistance against Roman oppression, a testament to the fierce spirit of a mother and leader. Boudica was the wife of Prasutagus, king of the Iceni, a Celtic tribe in what is now eastern England. When the Romans conquered Britain in 43 CE, they allowed Prasutagus to rule as a client king. But upon his death around 60 CE, the Romans ignored his will, which left his kingdom jointly to his daughters and the Roman emperor. Instead, they annexed Iceni lands, flogged Boudica, and assaulted her daughters, mounted on a chariot. Her red hair flowing, described vividly by Roman historian Dio Cassius, Boudica led her forces to sack Camulodunum, modern Colchester, Londinium, London, and Verulamium, St. Albans. Her army burned these Roman settlements to the ground, killing thousands. For a moment, it seemed she might drive the Romans out of Britain, but Rome's military machine was relentless. In a final battle, likely in the Midlands, the Roman governor Suetonius Paulinus defeated Boudica's larger but less disciplined forces. Rather than be captured, Boudica reportedly took poison, ending her life around 61 CE. Her rebellion failed, but her defiance inspired Celtic resistance and cemented her as a symbol of British resilience. Boudica's story resonates because it's about standing up against injustice, even when the odds are stacked against you. She wasn't just fighting for herself, but for her daughters, her people, and their way of life. Her legacy lives on in statues, art, and even modern feminist movements. If you've been with us from the start, we've already met the extraordinary Hatshepsut, Nefertiti, Cleopatra, and Boudica, women who shaped their worlds against incredible odds. Now we're heading to the Syrian desert in the 3rd century CE to meet our final queen, Zenobia of Palmyra. Her story is one of ambition, defiance, and a vision for independence that challenged the mighty Roman Empire. Let's dive into her world with the same empathy and respect, exploring her life through historical records and archaeological remains. Zenobia, born around 240 CE, ruled the Palmyrene Empire, a wealthy trading hub in modern-day Syria that thrived on caravan routes connecting east and west. Her husband, Odenathus, was a Roman allied king who defended the empire's eastern frontiers against Persian invasions. When he and his heir were assassinated in 267 CE, Zenobia stepped into power as regent for her young son Vabalithus. But much like Hatshepsut centuries earlier, Zenobia wasn't content to rule from the shadows, Rome and Persia. Palmyra's wealth made it a prize, but also a target. Zenobia chose boldness, declaring herself Augusta, Empress, and expanding Palmyra's influence. She wasn't just protecting her son's inheritance. She was building a legacy. Under her rule, Palmyra grew into a cultural and political powerhouse. Zenobia conquered Egypt and parts of Asia Minor, claiming territories as far as Ankara and challenging Roman dominance. She fostered a cosmopolitan court, blending Greek, Roman, and Eastern traditions, and was known for her intellect, hosting philosophers like Longinus. Coins minted in her name showed her as a regal figure, often with the title Queen of the East. But her ambition drew the attention of Rome's Emperor Aurelian. In 272 CE, he launched a campaign to reclaim Palmyra's territories. Zenobia, ever the strategist, led her army personally, reportedly riding into battle. Despite her efforts, Palmyra fell after defeats at Antioch and Emesa. Zenobia was captured while attempting to flee to Persia, possibly on a camel across the Euphrates River. What happened next is debated. Some sources say Zenobia was paraded in Aurelian's triumph in Rome, bound in golden chains, a symbol of her defiance and Rome's victory. Others suggest she was spared, living out her days in a Roman villa. Either way, her rebellion shook the empire, proving that a woman could challenge Rome's might and leave a lasting mark. Palmyra's ruins, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, still whisper her story, despite damage from modern conflicts. As we wrap up our journey, let's reflect on these ancient queens, Hatshepsut, Nefertiti, Cleopatra, Boudica, and Zenobia. Each faced unique challenges, patriarchal traditions, foreign empires, or internal strife. Yet they ruled with courage, intelligence, and vision, reshaping their worlds. Their stories aren't just relics of the past. They resonate today, reminding us that leadership transcends gender and that resilience can change history. These women weren't perfect. They made tough, sometimes controversial choices, but their ability to navigate power in a man's world, to protect their people, and to leave legacies that endure millennia later, that's what makes them extraordinary. Whether it was Hatshepsut's trade expeditions, Nefertiti's religious revolution, Cleopatra's diplomacy, Boudica's rebellion, or Zenobia's empire building, Each queen showed us what's possible when determination meets opportunity. So, what can we take away from these stories? Maybe it's the courage to stand up, the wisdom to adapt, or the strength to lead with empathy. If these queens inspire you as much as they do me, let's keep their stories alive. Share your thoughts in the comments. What other ancient women deserve a spotlight? And if you enjoyed this deep dive, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so we can explore more hidden histories together. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time. Until next time, keep curious and keep learning.